Hi everyone, welcome to the third video of Art World Access. I'm thankful you're here and also thankful to the St. Petersburg College Foundation and making this content possible for you. Today I'm going to be sitting down with Christina Austin, who's the CEO of A Marketing Boutique based in Jacksonville, Florida. So she is a marketing expert and social media guru and one of my go-tos when I'm thinking about anything that has to do with the aesthetics of my online presence. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about branding yourself and then taking your brand online, because I think it's one of the most important steps to take as you decide that you want to make money with your art and represent yourself as an artist. So I'm really excited to hear your feedback and know what you think about this first of many resource videos that I'm providing you. And if you have any questions for Christina personally, I'll definitely be linking her information below so you can get in touch with her. But I'm really looking forward to you guys seeing this, and happy you're here. Welcome to the third video of Art World Access. Today I'm here with Christina Austin, who's a marketing expert and also the CEO of A Marketing Boutique, which is based in Jacksonville, Florida. Today she's going to give you a little bit of information about branding yourself and how important marketing is in the art world and to you as an artist.
Yeah, definitely. So first you're probably asking, what exactly is a brand, right? Well, essentially a brand is basically a logo or a name that distinguishes you in a crowded market. So it's basically just, it's gonna set you apart from the crowd. So basically another way to think about it is also a brand is kind of how people perceive you, right? And it's basically going to be the determining factor as to whether they even want to interact or engage with your business, meaning buy your art in general. So it's important to have a clear and concise brand before you even get started exposing your business out there. So I'm going to kind of go over some of the tips and the strategies that I personally have implemented in my business. So I've actually walked the road you're on right now and started from scratch. But even if you're in a position where you might just be pivoting your business a little bit, maybe you're a little bit established, this information should be like really helpful to you anyways, because it's basically just a nice model of the steps to go through and the things to consider when building your brand. And one more concept that I didn't bring up that I want to drive home is, and especially with dealing with the art world, obviously we think of a brand as like a business or a product or a service, right? And we're like, how do artists fit into this picture? Mm-hmm. But you also have to think of a brand as like a twofold business. It can be people and business. So that's kind of some of the tips of the trade that we're going to talk about today, is how you can create a brand as a person or an artist, but also build a business off of that and have them kind of complement each other. And again, really what we're going to be talking about here is just the main thing you can do for yourself in terms of branding is to stay consistent. So we'll give you some tips about that. And
yeah, so this video a little bit, I know last week I mentioned I would talk a little bit about one of the artists from our collection, but I actually had to do kind of a pivot because our buildings are still closed due to COVID. So I was actually traveling up here and was hoping to talk with Tina about this. So we're really lucky to have her resources at our fingertips today. And what she has to say, like one of the biggest hurdles for me as a person and as a curator was building my brand and realizing that what was my business outside of just being a person. And I realized that I am my brand. That's part of what I do. So I think that it's really important for artists to understand that every move you make on social media, every person you meet, you are part of what you sell. So driving that home is definitely one of my goals with this video. So
yeah, definitely. That's all good points. All right, well, I've got some tips here on a clipboard so we can keep track of what I want to go over. First things first, and again, starting your brand, is you want to research your target audience and your competitors. So really just some tips to get that done is just open your computer and start a Google search. To start typing in keywords that are relatable to your business, maybe a business name concept you have in mind, start plugging that stuff in. If you know of any people in the industry, go ahead and start checking out their websites, their social presence. And then also just kind of leading into the social presence, definitely make yourself a list of social media influencers or people that you like to follow, people that you admire, and just kind of check out how they present themselves and how they're either selling their art, and just start talking to people in your industry. That way it'll just kind of help you get an idea of where your niche could be,
Right.
like where there's a demand, where you can kind of separate yourself from the crowd, like about what you have to offer.
And I think like just going into Google sometimes in the art world can seem really scary because it's like, what do I even Google? A good example that I applied in my own life was like, I really like the Sotheby's and Artsy websites. So I modeled my current website off of their websites because that's something that's already working for people. And so and also on Instagram, another good way to find these people is through hashtags. So like clicking on a hashtag, following those hashtags, that's like a great way to model yourself off people who are already doing what you want to be doing. You know, like don't reinvent the wheel and just like try to like start from scratch because people are already doing what works.
That's where success comes from, is just modeling after other successful people. That's all you have to do. So you just got to get out there and research. Just take a night and do it. So we're on to point 2, and honestly, this is one of the hardest ones. And a lot of people like to skip over this step, and I understand why, but it's about picking your focus and your personality. And this is, again, thinking from like kind of a business perspective. So what this is kind of touching on when I bring up focus is your positioning statement. So it's basically how you're going to position in yourself in the market. What kind of value are you offering? How does it separate yourself from other artists? What makes you unlike all the other people out there? This doesn't necessarily have to be written down, but I would recommend, pulling up a Word document like it's a journal almost and just putting some things in your own words. Because that can be really helpful in just kind of developing your brand in general, and it'll just kind of like create some conviction. It'll kind of allow you to say, this is how I'm going to start my brand and this is how I'm going to get it out there. And then the next part, I'm going to go back to personality. This kind of goes down to your UVP. Some people call it USP, and what that stands for is unique value proposition or unique selling proposition. So they're both kind of the same thing. They're the same idea, and in fact, Diana, didn't you have a word for it that an artist would identify? Is it the artist statement?
Oh yeah, your artist statement.
Yeah, okay, so that's your word for it. So it'd be your artist statement. So basically it's like what your unique value proposition could be. What do you have to offer? Okay, and that's kind of something that you want to put in writing. Essentially, it's going to lead into the next step. So, and oh yeah, this is a tip. I brought this up earlier and I really wanted to make sure it made the video. A lot of people you can give people tips and they write it down in their notes and stuff, but I found to actually implement the idea, and I just kind of hinted at this before, is to pull up a Word document and just start a word board. What I mean by that is literally just writing down words about how you perceive yourself as a person and a business, and then how you think other people perceive you.
Totally, yeah.
And just get all those words down, and before you know it, you're going to be putting together little short sentences that could be your slogan, it could be your unique selling proposition or your unique value proposition, and it'll just overall help you to form those bios and the summaries that you'll need to fill into your website, into your social media down the road.
Right, and last summer I was trying to figure out what my next move was, and I was like kind of thinking about applying for gallery positions and stuff like that, and someone was like, Diana, what is your value add? And it took me a long time to realize that like my value add, like just so you all have an example, is my work ethic, my willingness to learn, and my like kind of charisma as I'm doing things and connecting people that are around me to make things work. It is my value add. And so I would say try not to pressure yourself too much because it's something that totally fell into my lap and was actually there the whole time. But like she was saying, like doing bullet points and things like that will kind of start to help you get your mind wrapped around like why you're doing the things that you're doing. And it could even be like you using a different type of medium or mixing two mediums that like creates a different sort of medium, as an artist. Like it's just what separates you from the other people that are working in your industry, basically.
Yeah, and people don't I wouldn't consider myself an artist in this sense. I'm a designer, so I do speak your language a little bit, but like I don't know what you guys do. And medium, I happen to know what that word is, but the average Joe isn't gonna know the materials they need a little bit of description. So just start writing it out. That's the best thing you can do because you're always going to need some sort of verbiage moving forward because we live in an online world. So that's a really good tip. I would definitely start on that. And with my Word document, that's always evolving. I'm always adding to it. So just keep it on your desktop so you can get to it regularly. Well, the next one is choosing your business name, and this one's a pretty quick one to get to because honestly, if you follow the original steps and do your word board and start thinking about it and challenging yourself as who you are as a person in a business, hopefully the business name will come from that wording. And basically the first thing you got to do is get back on Google and make sure no one else has that same business name. That's probably the biggest piece of advice I could give in terms of that. So,
and a lot of you guys will be creating companies based on your own name. So if
Yes.
you're comfortable with that and you're not planning on evolving like what you do, you know, if you're just making art, that's totally cool to use your name. But you know, if you want to expand your brand into selling like merch and doing other sort of things or potentially doing commission work, I do think it's a great idea just because people who are average Joes who want to work with artists, sometimes they connect better with a business name rather than it just being representative of, as you of a person, you know, like,
yeah, like I want to work with artists, but I don't always speak your language. But so next is, like I said, you're gonna have to have some sort of verbiage, and I know you're probably gonna think I don't need this, but next is write your slogan. So basically what I mean by this is just your why statement. I think this is the best way to say that. This is just a quick couple of words or maybe a few sentences. You could break it into a testimonial if you want to go a little bit longer, but just, you know, talking about why you do what you do and why you love what you do and why you want to share it with people and what you think, why you think there's value there. So if you can just answer those 4 questions, that's about, you know, 4 sentences, and that's pretty much going to give you, you know, between a mission statement and a slogan in terms of a business plan.
So I would ask you, because what, from my, you know, I'm still new to the business world, but what's
Right.
the difference between, in our case, like for me, like writing an artist statement is very similar to a why or to an elevator pitch.
I would say it's like a mission statement.
So a slogan is a mission statement.
A slogan is more from an advertising perspective. It's from a branding perspective, it's going to kind of identify you in a quick, easy way, a memorable way. Obviously, if you think of mission statements or maybe your artist statement, they're going to be like maybe a paragraph long because you got things to say. And people are not going to remember that verbatim, but a slogan is going to be a short, kind of quick phrase about you as an artist. And again, you don't have to have this right when you're starting your business. This is just things that start to happen over time where you're gonna find your niche and you're gonna wanna be able to put that niche in just a few words, and that will ultimately become your slogan.
Cool.
Yeah, okay. So this is the next one, which is probably you guys would like because this is the creative part. So this is, you know, choosing the look of your brand. This is pretty self-explanatory. This is just going to colors and fonts that define you, and then, you know, making sure that you're consistent with them. So that means pick, you know, 1 or 2 fonts that you want to work with, 1 or 2 colors. I would always keep it stupid simple when it comes to any kind of design, branding, or advertising. You just want to keep it clear and concise these days. People just don't have time to decode it if you, you know, bring too much to the table, and it just gets distracting too. So that one's pretty obvious, and then that kind of leads into designing your logo. And really the only things that piece of advice that you need to consider before you sign the contract on your logo and pay the money to the designer, or you might end up doing it yourself actually, but the things you need to remember if you do plan on designing it is 2 things. 1, how the physical logo looks on your marketing materials. So, you know, are you selling yourself as an artist? Do you need to produce flyers? Are you going to produce mailers? You know, physical things. So how does your logo physically look on a white background, on a black background, on a colored background with no you know, and again, you want to keep it stupid simple because you want it to kind of stand off of your designs. I'm sure you guys are working with lots of colors and techniques and things like that. So, you want to have something that kind of like stands out.
Yeah, like my logo, for instance, is literally just DB, and like it has a circle around it. And
probably the best strategy for an artist is just to brand your name and then use a component of your name or a characteristic about your art.
Yeah, I was also gonna say I do a lot of times, like, for instance, I'm thinking of a sticker that I saw literally, like, going through a drive-thru the other day, and it was just, like, their logo was just a cool vector image of a skull that they had created, but it made me Google, like, search them on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I think, like, you can also have separate ones. So it's, like, maybe the one that's on the corner of your newsletter is a little bit different than one you would use for a sticker, but you can still kind of, like, use those interchangeably, I think, right? Like,
I think so, too.
Yeah.
That's what I usually advise people is just pick, you know, either a graphic element, just one or two elements that defines you. Really, one is the best thing. And then, you know, some form of your name, really. Just keep it stupid simple. And then the second thing I wanted to add, so we talked about the physical there, it's the emotional part. So sometimes logos, we want them to be memorable, again, recognizable. That's what branding is about. So sometimes logos are able to kind of create emotional, like a connection, where it's just memorable. So you want to kind of keep that in mind. And then we're on the last one, number 7, and this is applying your branding across your business. Okay, so again, the concept of being consistent and allow it to evolve as you grow. And I think we've actually touched on that already at a few different points in this conversation. So, you know, basically just know that you're not gonna just develop a brand and then that's it. You're always gonna be changing it. It's gonna be a lot of work, but the reason why that has to happen is because, you know, the online culture is always changing, so you just have to keep up with it. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
And I guess, like, adding to the your branding across mediums would be, you know, keep your vibe the same with all your stuff. Like, I personally am really turned off when and some art school teachers teach this differently, but I personally, when I go to an artist website and I know they're the ones that made it, I don't want to read it in third person. I want your voice to shine through as it does on your Instagram.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you do have a logo and you're using your Instagram account to post a lot of your art, a lot of times using that as your Abby is a really great idea, just because, like, if you are using, like, marketing materials like stickers and flyers and stuff like that, if I follow you on Instagram and see your flyer or sticker, that is something that's already gonna, like, buzz in my mind and be like, I recognize that. So keep that. And if you have a Facebook page, same thing. Like, just try, when people click on your website, they should understand that it's connected to your Instagram. It shouldn't be like, what is this world, you know?
Yeah. And it's really just distracting too when you go from, you know, website to social media and you see different, you know, in the banner designs on social media versus your website, if you see different fonts used or different colors used, because then you're like, is this the same artist?
Right.
And you just don't want anybody to question. You just want to stay top of mind all the time. So that when people are ready to buy art, you know, they see you out there and
they know who to buy it from.
You look good, you look active, you look professional, you look like you know what you're doing. You're an expert. That's the goal of branding. So anyways, kind of leading into you know, the online exposure part. It's funny because in the past I feel like all you needed was just a cool website, you know, have your social profile up and just really a blog page, but now it's just turned into, like, so much more. And I understand that, like, I'm a creative too, maybe in a little bit different way, but I get really excited about all these ideas that I have and I go to implement them and then run into tech glitches or a learning curve or whatever it is, and then I just get frustrated and want to give up immediately. So just know that will happen, and branding takes time. Partner up with someone who is like-minded with you, and you know, basically develop, you know, a schedule to time block and, you know, spend time on this basically. And, you know, that's how you can be kind of effective. We've actually got a couple tips together that we can share with you on how to use your time wisely when moving your brand to online, that we can go over with you right now too. So
yeah, I was like, while we're on this too, like, you have to remember that as an artist, unless you're trying to get gallery representation and don't want to be involved with the sales of your work, which is a completely different conversation to have, you are an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you're the CEO of whoever you are, and you're the one that is the face, the name, the brand, and everything of your company. So it's like, you have to pull all of that together, and you have to realize that there is work that needs to be done that you won't get paid for. And I've also realized, like, you know, one of the biggest pieces of advice that I've seen, like, in any of the business books I've read is once you start partnering up or paying people to do things, your life becomes easier. Like, I paid someone to redo my website, but we worked closely together, and like, you guys as artists, because you know so many people, you have a really strong creative network that can help you execute your vision at an easier rate. You know, if you're a painter and not used to working in like Photoshop or InDesign to make a logo, contact a graphic designer and maybe even do a trade so that like they can have one of your pieces and you can do something easier. Because that's the thing with the art industry. I think that like, although there's like often not money there when we're first starting out, we have such a strong network of people who can help make each other help each other be successful. So like, rely on your peers with that. I think that like a lot of people don't talk about that in the industry. Like,
and that's what makes this conversation so cool, because even though you're an artist, like, and I'm not, I can apply what you guys are doing and you guys can apply what I'm doing to your business. In fact, I was originally a real estate agent, and I used that business model to start my marketing business. And now I have found that I can apply those models to all the other businesses. And you know, we're nationwide and across industries, and we have a lot of different clients out there, but almost all of those businesses can use this advice. So, you know, now that we've talked about basically the steps on how to build your brand, the next step is really just to take it online. So we have a couple steps for you real quick, and honestly, they're kind of similar to what we talked about with branding. I mean, the first one is it's just keeping it simple. So when you go online, you know, you want to do your research, make sure that no one else is doing the same type of thing as you, be a little bit creative, stand out, make sure your profiles are completely set up. There is nothing worse than going to a social profile that is either stale, provides no information or personality, or is not active. So, you know, that's going to be a key one there.
It's better not to have it. Like, if you don't want to have a Facebook page and you know you're not going to keep up with it, same thing with like LinkedIn or anything like that. If you don't find that platform works for you right now, it's better just to delete it. Because if I go on someone's Facebook page and I can't even find like contact information or something like that, it's just a huge turn off and makes you look like, it makes your work look unfinished. Like, would you want to like put one of your pieces on the wall if it's unfinished? Like, don't do that, like in the professional world either. Like,
yeah, and again, it's just, you know, it's just basics like that. So that's going to be the first tip of advice when bringing your branding to online. The second one is curate your content. Okay, so what this means is, obviously when you're building your profiles, you need content, right? So basically what you want to do is, when you're building content, you want to be as clear and concise in your message as possible, so that people understand your value and the purpose of it, okay? It's really easy for us to go on streams of consciousness when we're talking about our business, where we just like ramble on. So you just want to kind of take an extra step, fine-tune your verbiage. Like I said, bring out that Word document, start writing things out, and have it in a concrete place so that you can just copy and paste it to these different platforms. Because first things first is, you're going to go get on Facebook, you're definitely going to get on Instagram, you're going to build a website, and then I would recommend being on Twitter and Pinterest and YouTube, of course. Those are all different profile platforms that have all sorts of different character requirements and different banner options and things like that. So it's just easy if you've already kind of done the work ahead of time, meaning, you know, get your niche concrete, get your brand fairly concrete before you take it to online. All right, and then we've talked about this like so many times. I mean, be consistent, be active. This just goes back to everything we've talked about, and making sure that your profiles are active. And then this last one is, you know, this is about networking. So this is developing your pitch to the media. And really, like, what I do with that is, it's always great to be local, and it's great to work with influencers in your area. So I just create a list. I honestly, again, the Word document. I create a Word document, and I write down my influencers that I like to follow, or I just follow them on there, and you know, that helps give me ideas for content for sure.
Yeah, and I would say, like, in terms of pitching to the media, you know, a lot of times, like, a lot of people in the art world, we want to be represented in newspapers and stuff like that to get the word out about the work that we're doing. But all of the branding stuff, and you need to have everything ready so that when you're asked to be on TV, or when you're ready to give that news interview, people can refer to you and know that, like, you're ready for that. And I think that like in terms of like following influencers and stuff like that, I kind of mentioned like the hashtag thing, like on Instagram specifically, because I think that is like the most important platform to artists. Like that's where I buy most of my art. That's where I find most of my artists I work with. And if you know, using the saved feature, as simple as that is, like I literally have folders of like representational art, I like non-representational art, you know, graphic designers that I want to connect with, and you'd be surprised like how friendly people are, you know, sending a message, like if you really like someone's work, or if you like see, you know, if you see me on Instagram and you're like, oh, I like the work that you do, reaching out to me and saying like, oh, like it's so cool that you're doing this, like I appreciate you, like goes so much farther than you would think. And like it helps build like your personability online, which I think is so important. And we don't, you know, we all try to be cool and just like do likes, but like, comment, share, like, do all the things, because people love that, you know, like that's how you can grow a lot as an artist.
And then you open up the opportunity for trading marketing opportunities with each other, because you can invite all of my friends to like her pages and vice versa. I can put, you know, art access on my website, and in return she can put, you know, our marketing services to try to help out, you know, local or national artists out there. So it just opens that when you start the communication, which leads us to our final point, which is engage with influencers. So literally Diana didn't even know what I was going to bring to the table, and she already covered this point. So there we go. That's it in a nutshell. So basically what we just talked about again was, you know, the steps in building a brand and then taking your brand online. And really the biggest thing is just to stay consistent and stay unique and stay yourself. And if you do want to contact me, Diana has my email, but I've got worksheets that I can email you for building the information that you need. It's like a bullet point list, like a little checklist of how to build your social profiles, but I also have one to how to build your website. So
I can link those on my website. I'll just like link it below so that you all can do that. But
hi, Bear.
Yeah.
Bear.
Yeah, we're still filming at home, but
we're in quarantine, so that's why I had to have a clipboard. So thanks for
thank you for watching. We hope that this was helpful for you. I look forward to you know, and if you have any questions or anything with me with just like how to get started, because I know that it's kind of overwhelming, but I think like, you know, we started this video off saying like start with a Google Doc, just, you know, do a word blurb and kind of like throw words and see what sticks, and that's the most important thing.
Just get it in writing. Don't keep it in your head.
But okay, we hope you have a good day, and I'll see you on the next video.
All right.